Welcome to Northbound Alaska, the Trucking Files, a podcast where we talk to haul road drivers, both past and present, to carry on the knowledge and experience of one of the toughest roads on Earth. On this episode, Aaron and Nathan sit down with Josh Fischer. Josh came to Alaska when he was a young boy with his family, grew up hunting and fishing with his father, started driving truck in his early 20s, running heavy equipment for DOT on the Dalton Highway with well over 1 million miles alone on that road, and now is the superintendent for maintenance and operations of the Dalton Highway, also known as the Haul Road. So, you want to do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We're here with Josh Fischer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It's not Joshua?
Well, my birth name's Joshua.
Okay, but you go by Josh.
I go by Josh, yep.
Okay.
Some people call me Fish. It's my nickname.
Fish?
Yep.
Okay, so that's out there now.
It's out there. There's some other names that Danny Hart called me, but they're not radio appropriate, I don't think, so.
Well, you know, this isn't exactly radio.
Well, I guess you got a point.
But the level you're at now, I don't know if you want to be using that kind of language anymore.
Yeah, probably not.
But it is a trucking podcast.
Right.
So, were you born up here? How'd you come up here?
I wasn't born up here, but I was raised up here.
Yeah.
Pretty well been up here since I was 4 years old.
So you're a sourdough then?
Sure.
Yes.
I mean, I guess.
If you
Close.
want to go by that term or whatever.
Right.
Where were you born?
I don't know if I want to say that.
Okay, let's go forward. It wasn't California,
It was California. That's I don't brag about it, but it's not like I got a choice of where I was born.
What part of California?
Merced.
Okay.
So at least in Northern California, right?
That's a beautiful area up in there.
It
Yeah.
definitely is. I'd like to
Yeah.
go back there sometime. I
Yeah.
haven't been there since I was 2, so
Oh, wow.
it's
It's amazing. California really is an amazing state when you drive through it, and especially on like the Highway 101, you know,
Yep.
through the redwoods. I mean, it's gorgeous up through there and up in Eureka, that area up in there. But California really should almost be 2 or 3 different states.
right.
I mean, if you think about it, it's so huge. But anyways, we don't have to go into that. But so you came up here when you were young. What was it like growing up in Alaska for you?
I think it was the best thing ever. We moved. My dad was in the Air Force, so we moved out of here when I was 13, and then I came back when I was 16. Spent a couple years in North Dakota, and all I wanted to do was move back here. I missed this place. I grew up hunting, fishing, riding my bike around. I could, ride my bike a mile from the house and go fishing all day, and I lost that when I moved to North Dakota. So growing up like that, that's what I always wanted to come back to, was having that sense of freedom, be able to kind of do whatever I wanted and whatnot. And I just always wanted to live here ever since, and no desire to live anywhere else. I went out of state for college a little bit and just couldn't wait to get back home.
Yeah.
Alaska's always been home, always going to be home.
Yeah.
So
You probably had a lot of the same friends when you came back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. At least I'd call them acquaintances.
Yeah.
We lost touch. We're talking late 90s and stuff. So the
Yeah.
only way to communicate really was either a phone call or a letter.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to drop that stuff off when you're a teenager and trying to make friends in a new place and whatnot. But I still talk to some of those people today. I still got my best friend from growing up. Been friends since we were 5, and got some friends that have moved out of state and reconnected with them. They came back up here to go hunting or something. I just happened to run into them in the woods, right?
Yeah.
Small state, as big as it is.
So I'm assuming, was your dad taking you hunting when you were a kid?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Took me hunting when I was a kid, but didn't grow up with 4-wheelers, snow machines, anything like that. So a lot of walking, a lot of biking and whatnot. Different experience to have that stuff now that
Yeah.
I can afford my own things.
Were you guys in Fairbanks when you
Yep.
came up here? So where were you hunting out of mostly? Just north of Fairbanks? Or?
Most of the stuff we did was backside of Eielson.
Yeah.
Dad was in the military, so it was pretty easy for us to access that stuff. And then I grew up off a plaque there in North Pole, and that was before those subdivisions were developed. So nothing to walk out the front door with the shotgun and go hunt birds and half a mile from the house. And can't do that there now. There's too many houses. But it's been a great life up here for sure. And
So you did trapping too when you were younger? Or?
I didn't start trapping until I was 17.
Okay.
Didn't really know much about it, but once I learned about it, man, I dove right in, and I've enjoyed that. kind of throttled back a little bit now with the kids. And so I take them out behind the house. We live out in Two Rivers now, and just a short little line, but trying to introduce the kids into that.
Yeah. That's a good area for doing all that stuff.
For sure.
Whatever you want to do. So.
For sure.
So, when was the first time you remember seeing a truck or thinking, "Man, I want to try that"?
So, growing up hunting, trapping, fishing, doing all that stuff, all I ever wanted to do was be a biologist. And out of high school, I got a job at Fish and Game, and then worked for fisheries there, and was going to make a career out of that until I found out that a biologist only gets paid, $40,000 a year. And it turned out, as I was going through college, they decided they wanted biologists to have master's degrees, and I was like, I'm not going to school for $40,000 a year for this.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to find something different. And I was like, you know what? I've always liked watching trucks, heavy equipment running, that kind of stuff. It's like, let's go learn how to run some equipment, maybe learn how to drive truck. So I got with one of the local companies here as a yard rat and started into that. And it's everything I thought it would be, honestly. It's, a little kid, 4 years old and stuff, drooling over garbage trucks and whatnot. And I won't say what I used to call garbage trucks when I was 4 because I couldn't pronounce T's. They came out as F's. So, but my parents always tell stories of me watching, big trucks and stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Of that, and nothing like listening to a turbo spool up or Jake brakes and going through a no Jake brake zone in town.
There's always something about being behind the wheel of a piece of equipment or a truck. Just being one with that unit. It's like you could probably feel stuff when you're operating equipment. You can feel it through the throttle, through the seat, or whatever. And it's the same with the truck. And that's called being one with the truck or the piece of equipment. And it's something else. And a lot of guys don't get that.
Yep.
It's not for everybody.
Yep. Agreed.
But I'm sure you kind of figured that out right away, and where your front right corner is. You know where every corner is of that piece of equipment or truck. Yep. So,
I guess when I'm running stuff, I don't give that a lot of thought. Right, you're just doing your thing, and I guess when you're like you're saying one with the machine that you're running, you don't give that a second thought. You're just like, yep, that's where my corner is.
It's kind of just natural.
Yep.
You're not thinking about it. It's just there,
yep,
right?
Exactly. It's same thing, blade, loader, dozer.
Yeah.
Excavator's a little harder when you're trying to dig and you can't see where your bucket's
at.
Yeah. But you definitely get some feedback from the machine.
Yeah.
Just like a truck, you can feel when you're starting to slip and whatnot. And same thing with running a blade. You can feel it starting to dog. And
what's your favorite piece of equipment to run?
That's a tough one. I really enjoy all of it. I think it probably depends on the day.
Yeah.
After you spend a week in a grader, you'd be all right running a loader for a day or driving a truck for a week or something like that. I just really enjoy it all. And honestly, taking this position that I'm at now with the state, that I put a lot of thought into that because I'm stepping out of equipment now, right, and trucks, and I enjoy doing it so much. I put a lot of thought into that.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a hard thing for me to swallow. It just more or less was just say grew up. I got into this stuff when I was 20, 22, and to get away from that and go sit at a desk it's different. It's definitely different, and I do miss running truck, and I'd planned on driving truck on my weekends and stuff when I could, but had my unfortunate incident this summer where I broke my leg, so kind of been hard to get into equipment, but well, we'll get there again. And I've got a dump truck that I run in the summertime, and at least I got to do that a little bit before my wreck. But
do you want to go into that?
I guess we can.
You don't have to.
Yeah, no, I think it's not a big deal. I might not get too far into it, but yeah, So I wrecked my plane coming into the house here on a hot day, and when you start flying, there's a lot of things you learn and you got to pay attention to. Right, you're up in the air. It's not like you can just pull over on the ground when you're having an issue or something. And there's a lot of factors you got to take into consideration when you come into land, especially when you're doing cub stuff, short strip, hot weather, tailwinds, trees. There's a lot of things that you got to take in.
So this is a Super Cub?
It's called PA12. I think the nickname's kind of a Fat Man Cub.
Okay.
There's some slight differences, but you make a lot of modifications to them to make them close to a Super Cub. There's a couple things you can't do without going experimental. You got to, if you want to stay certified, as the FAA calls it, you can't do certain things. But anyway, yeah. When I was coming to land at the house that day, I needed to do a little work on the plane, and just misjudged my tailwind coming in on it. It didn't like my approach, and just poured the coals to her again in 85 degrees, and then basically a 12 to 15 knot tailwind. That was my biggest misjudge, was that tailwind. It just plane wouldn't climb. Clipped a couple trees at the end of the runway, and she put me into the ground. But
wow,
yeah, it was.
But you walked away.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I was stuck in the plane. Took them about 45 minutes to get me cut out. Just my right leg was pinned in there, but yeah, broke my left leg in 3 places. So I've been more or less on crutches for about 4 months now. Was doing pretty good recovering, but slipped and fell with that first snowfall we got, and I'm back on the crutches again. But at least the reset wasn't too far back. Probably a month behind where I was at now, but we'll get there.
So do you think you'll ever want to fly again after that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah.
Nope. I've been up one other time in a Cub. A little anxiety when we first took off and first landing. I wasn't flying, just riding, but handled it all right, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to get back in the air. It's
something else when you're up there flying around. And yeah.
Yep. Once again, a machine, man.
Oh yeah.
And it's the same thing, with the plane.
Yeah.
You get to feel in that. You spend enough time in it, and you can feel what it's doing and how it's reacting to what the air is doing. And there's a big difference, though, between feeling what a plane does and what these do, and the things that affect it.
That's a pretty unique experience for you. Sitting in an office now, but with all this experience operating all this different types of equipment, trucks and equipment and planes, that really has to help with some decision making, I would think. I mean, you actually sit there and relive those experiences that you've had.
For sure. It definitely gives a lot of insight when you're making decisions for things on the road or at an airport, and that's probably the biggest thing that flying gave me. Obviously, was a connection to what it's like to be a pilot coming into an airport. Not that I flew 737s or anything, but you definitely gain an understanding for what the operators are experiencing when they're coming into these. And kind of same thing with my experience running truck, driving on the haul road, and that's how you got to think, right? Like these are the users of the road. What do they need to get up and down the road safely? And having that experience definitely allows you to weigh in on what's getting done a lot more. And then having the experience running equipment and stuff, it's real easy to have those conversations with the guys on the road. I think they have a lot of respect for your point of view on stuff, because you've been there, you've done it. They know you understand what they're dealing with. There's definitely a lot of benefit to that. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, it's funny. Different people, I guess in every walk of life, people can judge people on different things, but they've never experienced it. They have a theory about it, but to actually sit there and go make that happen, you see truck drivers complain about operators, and operators complain about truck drivers, and it's like, it's nice when somebody's been on the other side of the table. It's like you put a little bit more weight into what they're talking about.
For sure.
So it's
some guys you got to take with a grain of salt, but
yeah.
As far as running equipment on that road, what can truck drivers do to help, I guess, make DOT's jobs easier when they're going by the blades or snow blowers or one-ways or etc.?
Sure. I think communication, that's the biggest thing. When you're coming up on, like, just say you're coming up behind a blade working a hill or just scratching road or whatever like that, most of the time you're focused on what you're doing. Depending on conditions, you're obviously trying to keep an eye on what's going behind you. Just like when you're driving truck, you're looking for vehicles behind you and stuff, but sometimes you look and then you don't, and a truck's rolling 50 miles an hour up behind you and you're doing 6. It doesn't take long for somebody to creep up on you. So just to hey Blade, I'm coming up on you, coming up behind you. That does a lot.
Yeah.
Huge difference. And then just slow down. Whether you're meeting us head on or coming up behind us, slow down. You know, you don't got to go by at 50 miles an hour. The road's not going anywhere. You know, that'll do a lot.
Yeah.
For a guy running a piece of equipment. Just communication.
Especially when you're approaching him too, because then a lot of times you'll see him in the mirror. Oh, there's a truck creeping up on me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then maybe if you got a berm or something like that, it's like maybe I don't want this truck crossing through this 2-foot tall berm because he's going to make a mess on the pass I just made.
Sure.
Maybe you want him in the other lane.
Yep.
So
or maybe there's a rock in that berm and you don't want to cross it as a truck driver. I've seen some oil pans disappear before.
Yeah.
That's you guys know as well as I do the stuff that'll pop up on that road when you're running a grader on it. So.
Oh man, when the tour buses were up there, I seen them one time. That might have been 20 years ago or something, but they're up there by Pump 4, and that tour bus, they crossed a berm and they took that oil pan out, and then there's 40 or 50 people out there roaming around, swatting mosquitoes, waiting for a ride. It's like I don't have enough room in my truck to put these people in there, but
right.
Yeah, you have to think about that stuff. It's something else you said there. I mean, I do the same thing. It's like you try to give a Blade or whatever, just, hey, I'm coming up behind you here, and it gives them time to, they got their hands full. They might not be able to grab their radio for, a minute or so, but that made me think, just as a kid when you're out there working around equipment or something like that, is like you always look the operator in the eyes. You kind of have that communication, and I guess that's, we talk a lot about the call-outs and things like that, and to me that's different than a call-out. You're actually communicating with them instead of just talking out there. But once you start that communication, then you can go from there. But yeah, you don't want to. I've seen snowblowers get hit. I've seen blades get hit. The people don't want to slow down anymore. It don't seem like you can drive fast, but it's like there's times where you need to slow down. Just slow down for a minute to go by them guys. It gives, what happens, if you catch the edge or something like that, you don't be, they're just, that's all good stuff.
Yeah. If you're cutting hard in a blade, it doesn't take much of a hookup to pull you, and obviously it's going to pull you the opposite way that you're pushing material. So you catch something hard on your toe, which happens to be towards the center of the road, it's going to push you that way into that other lane. So if you're going to go around a guy and you haven't said anything to him and he's not expecting that, most guys you're pretty quick to react when you're running a piece of equipment, when it's doing that. But it doesn't take anything to shove that 14 3 feet over to the left. Well, your 12-foot lane just got pretty small.
Yeah. Yeah, just announcing that, it's like you give the guy a time just to let up a little bit of pressure there so he's not cutting so hard and let somebody go by and then start cutting again. But as a truck driver, never being around equipment, guys don't really understand what goes into that, and we all need to work together. The equipment's out there for us as truck drivers.
Right. That's how I've always looked at that road, right? That probably 80% of the users on that road, maybe a little less now, with all the tourism and stuff going up there, are truck drivers. So that's kind of, I'll just say that's how I grew up on that road, right? At least I had a little bit of a background in trucking. I'd driven local for a couple of years before I started up there, and kind of knew more or less what a truck needs to get up a hill or how much snow they can make it through, and you got to prioritize things to facilitate that. And that was always my goal. Any of the positions I was ever in as an operator on the road was, okay, if I'm driving a truck, what do I need to make it up 2.5 mile or make it down 5 mile? And that was always my goal. And that's how I always tried to train my guys too, like, hey, this is how we're going to go check the hill. We go check the hills in the morning or something, just coming on shift. I'd stop on 2.5 and 2-wheel drive in the pickup. And I wouldn't hammer on it, but if I could get going without breaking loose, okay, we're good for a little bit. We can go work on this or we can go work on that.
Yeah.
And just trying to, teach the guys that. It's like, okay, we're here for the trucks. Let's, that's our biggest user. Let's focus on that. Because honestly, if a truck is getting up and down everything just fine, most of the time your four-wheelers are going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Four-wheelers, man, pickups, you guys know that. But
yeah.
Some of your listeners may not.
Yeah. That's interesting, too, thinking about the different, to be an operator in different camps. Every camp has their own unique challenges, the Pass or Live and Good or 7 Mile or any of that. It's just because you can run a piece of equipment doesn't mean you're an expert in that area until you got the experience behind that. And I've never run equipment up there on that road before, but that's just my thoughts as a truck driver up there.
Sure. I mean, you know as well as I do where the guys burn out on these hills. If you can relate to that as an operator, you know, you go out, let's just take Live and Good, for example, right? You go out and you start scratching the hills. Well, you don't have to start right at the bottom of 1 mile. I mean, we always do, but for the most part, nobody burns out on 1 mile until you're up above, in the corner or above the corner, right? That first left-hand corner. And, you know, I think I've maybe seen, in my entire career up there, I've only seen a couple of trucks spin out on 2 mile. But 2.5 mile, you know, you know where the hard pull is on that. You know where most of the guys start wiping, and then it's right before you get to the corner at the top, right?
Yeah, I think everybody's got a 2.5 mile story.
Sure, yeah, that's for sure. There's you know, I'm good friends with, I won't say his name on here, but he's been on here, and him and I met in the ditch on 2.5 mile. That's where his truck was, and that's where I met him, and we've been friends ever since.
Oh wow!
And every once in a while it comes up, and he razzes me about it a little bit because I was foreman at Live and Good at the time.
And I can hear his voice in my head if it's the same guy I'm thinking of.
Probably. It's you know, all the incidences that happen on that road, that's where a lot of guys meet, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's got a problem, and either another driver stopping to help them or DOT showing up. You know, not that we help all the time, but depending on the situation. But that's how you meet a lot of people. And that's how a lot of friendships get started. That's how a lot of communication gets started. And I've got some really good relationships out of that. And I think some of the other guys on the road have, and not to say incidents are good things, but they happen on that road, and they happen pretty regularly. There's something to it, you know. It's just part of the community, right? That's what we're looking for up there, right? Is it we're all users of that road, you know? Maybe DOT. I say we're users too, but we're there providing a service for all the users of it. But we're part of that community.
Yeah.
And I think trying to keep that in good standing between, you know, every member of the community is a good thing. Obviously, it's just like every community, Fairbanks, North Pole, whatever, you're going to have people that be outliers. We'll just call them that, outliers on it. But for the most part, we all have the same goal, right? Let's get up and down the road and make it back home. And
there's been times I've helped blades get back on the road.
Yep.
You know, and it's like they may have help coming, but they might be an hour away, and it's like, man, 5 minutes will be done here. You know, it ain't going to take much help. So it's what goes around comes around kind of thing, and it's pretty simple.
For sure. Yep. I've been pulled back on the road by a truck. It was top of 120 dip in the ditch with a 16.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We were daylighting, so I mean I was running the shoulder anyway. You know, back tires off on the right side, but it's 32 degrees, and she's just hanging out right there. Wouldn't climb back up on the road. I got too far down. I don't remember who it was that pulled me out. You know, this is 15 years ago, but
it's not even a big deal because that's just what happens.
Yep.
You know, it's like it. Just make it happen.
Well, that's kind of how Alaska is, if you think about it. That's what makes Alaska so unique than the rest of the country, is people willing to help each other out, because we're all trying to survive up here.
Right.
40, 50 below, you know, you see somebody, you stop.
Yep.
Hey, what's going on? And it's even more so on that road. You know, I mean, it used to be even more so. I mean, you're starting to see some guys drive past some people, but
yep.
But that's what we're trying to do, is bring that back.
Sure.
Keep that in Alaska, because that's the great thing about Alaska, you know.
Yep.
But
yeah, I carry tow straps in every one of my personal vehicles, and you know, unless I look at something and go, I can't really help pull that out. I mean, I'll stop and check on people, but if I can pull you out, I'm gonna pull you out. Yeah. That's personally. We got some policies with the state and some stuff we can't touch, but but that is what it is. Yeah. So.
Can you talk a little bit about, in the summertime, the guys are putting calcium down, they're watering the road, and sometimes it seems like they're over-watering, but there is a reason they're doing that in certain areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it takes a certain amount of water. We call it activating the calcium, but Yeah, it takes a certain amount of water to get that done, but you don't want to overwater it because then you're just washing your calcium off the road.
Yeah.
And one of the problems doing that is you're always trying to play the weather too, right? If it's looking like it's going to rain, okay, do I add more water? Do I wait and see if it rains? Do I take a chance and not water? And you've got this shorter, I'm not going to say shorter, but I guess you have this window after you blade stuff to where the material is receptive to water. Once it starts compacting and tightening up and stuff, it doesn't soak down in through everything.
Yeah.
So there's more or less a science to it. It's not an exact science, obviously. The only thing we have to control how much water we put down up there is speed, and that's why you'll see water truck doing 40 miles an hour dumping water, because that's the only way we can apply the amount we think we need.
And you probably need to factor in manpower too, because you guys have been short-staffed in a lot of camps up there.
Yep. Yeah, over the years for sure. We've lost positions too. Over time up there. There's a handful less positions on that road than there were when I started, and then experience too. That's a big factor of it. We've got a lot more younger guys up there. Had a big slug of guys retire 5 years ago. Lost a lot of experience with that.
Yeah. So it's a whole new learning curve in that aspect.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You consider, when I was still an operator on there, I only had, let's just say 14 years in, because it's been about a year since I've been an operator up there. I was one of the more senior guys with 14 years. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's saying something, right? I think there were 4 guys with more time in on that road than me.
Wow.
So.
And I think the generation before that started in probably the early 80s, when the state took over.
Yep. Early 80s, late 80s, yep.
They worked there a long time. That's a lot of experience lost.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, a lot of them left within 2 months of each other.
Wow.
There was a big bunch of them retired right in 2020, midsummer, right at the end of summer.
Well, that's across the board.
Yeah.
That's DOT, that's every trade.
Yep.
You're seeing that all across the country pretty much.
Yep, for sure. And, so we didn't have a lot of these younger guys up there, so now there's this education gap that's kind of formed, and it's fallen to the more senior guys now let's just say 20% of the guys up there have experience with about everything you're going to see up there, and we're trying to teach that to the other 80% of the guys. That's a struggle.
Yeah.
That's called learning the hard way. That's tough when you can learn from somebody else that's been there and done that. It's like, I never wanted to learn the hard way. It's like, can we learn from you? But there's going to be some learning the hard way now, probably.
Yep. I would agree with that. I think we've been seeing it, even with drivers and stuff, the new companies and new people that are coming up there. I think it's definitely part of the struggle.
Yeah.
And why we're seeing the things we're seeing up there, for sure.
And there's some people that really want to learn, but they're not sure who to learn from.
Right.
That makes it a little bit tougher too. It's like, who do you want to be learning from?
Old timers.
Are you talking about the grouchy guys?
Yeah. The guys that sound grouchy with really, if you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so if you just shut one of those, you'd probably learn quite a bit. Yeah. That's how I've always tried to learn things on that road.
Yeah.
Just a lot of listening to the guys with the experience, because you'll pick a lot of stuff up from them, and that's a good place to learn stuff, because they've been there, they've seen it. Maybe not everything, but a lot of them have seen a lot of stuff. So.
I like what Ron Lawrence said. He kept his mouth shut for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it was like he was one of the tougher guys to make things. It was like, and it wasn't a big deal. He just kept his mouth shut and went trucking, and it seemed like a guy gets a year or two up there, and then they start getting comfortable. When I was a kid, Dad's like, after 3 years, people start thinking they get it figured out, and people either wreck or get killed. And I've seen that time and time again. It's scary. Once people start getting comfortable, you can never really be comfortable. And I kind of got this saying in my head, you got to be confident but not arrogant.
Yep.
And it's like, and that's a fine line. That's probably different for everybody. But if a guy can just learn from that, it might keep you from getting hurt.
For sure. I would agree with that. We're all going to make our mistakes. I've been backwards on hills up there before. You pucker up.
Oh man.
What was the first hill you spun out on? You can remember.
Technically, the first one I spun out on was out towards Manly.
Okay.
I had a grader on. We had a grader breakdown, and I spun out at just shy of 142 mile. It's called Cranberry Creek, but pretty steep grade coming out of there. And
Yeah.
I went backwards. I needed a loader to get back on the road.
Oh no.
Nothing got damaged, but
Yeah.
yeah. But as far as trucking on the highway, shelf.
Shelf.
Yep,
Okay.
that's the first one.
Up in the cut or by the corner?
By the corner.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep, by the corner.
You stayed on the road
Yep.
though? Or? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The worst I've had is I dropped the front tire off the road. So that was last winter. It took me about an hour and a half to get everything gathered back up on the road. So full sets on the rear end and
Your leg shaking at all?
oh yeah. Don't you like that when you're pulling a hill and you know like you probably should have put chains on and your foot's sitting there going like this?
Yeah. As a drummer, it's awesome,
Right.
You know.
Keeping a beat. Yeah. I remember the first time I pulled the hill and that started to happen. I was like, what is this about?
What's going on here? Why? So your foot wants to leave the body. It's like, nope,
Yep.
not doing this.
Yep, we're going to stay right here. And, yep. I think the first place I experienced that was on the pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got around the first switchback and yeah, the foot just wouldn't quit. And I think I don't even know if it quit by the time I got to the top.
I wonder what that is. Is that a medical thing, or why does the body do that? But everybody, you can
Maybe
tell the
it's
people that have
all-
experienced that or have it.
Maybe
Right.
it's all mental. You know, you're like, am I going to make it? You
Yeah.
know, and it's just, and then your foot's like, we got to make it.
Right.
It's like, I really need you to be calm right now.
Do you want me to keep this on the floor? Do you want me to back off? What do we need here?
I remember when I first started driving up there, it's like I was trying to push that throttle through the frickin' firewall, you know? It's like,
Yep.
you know, you're just like, I'm going to get up this hill. You know, you got your foot all the way in it. It's like, I don't think that really helps, though.
It makes you think it does.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Giving her all she's got. I think it took me a little while to figure out, and that's part of this going back to listening to the old guys. You know, sometimes you just gotta pick that right foot up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll keep you turning.
Yeah. I used to always think about them guys talking about acting like you got an egg underneath the throttle, and it's like, what does that mean? But the more you do that, it's starting to make sense to me, but I still
Like
can't
with
really
the
explain
shell, like with the shell on still, or is it hard boiled, or what? You know, it's like,
it. You're trying not to break the egg in
Okay.
the shell, you know,
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
but you're still trying to. It's finesse.
Yep.
yeah.
That.
Less is more, right?
Yep. That's. The first time I pulled an ISO, that was kind of like asking around for advice, and I was just going to Fort Knox, but it was probably this time of year, and Drew Wessels was like, just drive like there's an egg under the throttle.
Oh,
And
he
same,
said that?
Yeah, same thing. I was like, what does that mean? Do I want to break this egg? Am I going to eat this, or like what? What's the idea here? But after you do it, it's like, okay, yeah, this makes sense, right?
Yeah.
A little finesse.
Oh man.
Nothing like hauling a smooth bore tank to
Yeah,
increase
that
the learning curve.
Yeah.
could really move you around too. I remember I about spun out going up there one time in the ball truck, and it was. I put my lift axle back down, and it started spinning right away. I was like, well, I'm going to lift that back up.
Right.
You don't realize how big of a difference that makes. Seen some Canadians up there the other day, and they were really struggling, you know, and it's like they're probably tail heavy. You don't realize how big of a difference that really makes having some driver weight.
Yeah.
And then once you're used to having that driver weight, it kind of lulls you into complacency a little bit. You know, it's like you have all that. It's like when Nathan started driving up there, I didn't have the best tires out there, but it's like I wanted him to learn how to drive a little bit. I wanted him to be spinning and kind of keep his mind thinking about having that in the back of your mind that you can spin out, because once you get so confident in what you're doing, when you spin out with a good set of snow tires or winter tires, you're going for a ride.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
So I don't know if that worked for you or not.
It did. It worked great.
I didn't really tell you what I was doing, but I had a method.
I figured it out. I was like, okay, throttle time. Got to play with the throttle.
Yep. When I was driving last winter, one of the other guys that was driving for the guy I was driving for, he kept looking at the tires on the truck, and he's like, I can't believe you're not asking for new tires yet. And I was like, well, I haven't spun out yet, so we're just going to keep going with these. It's going to make me make good decisions.
Yeah.
You know? And it does. And as soon as we put those new tires on, after I did spin out, the top ice cut.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, time for new tires, Justin. And and he got them on there. But after that, it was like, man, what a world of difference. And it's,
Yeah.
Kind of makes you feel invincible when you get those new tires on.
Yeah,
You're
but
like, oh, I got grip now.
but it can make you make some poor decisions
Right.
too.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, it's so easy to chain up, you know. If you're up here, it should be easy to chain up. But man, there's just a time if you don't. I mean, you're making an educated guess all the time. You know, it's like I feel like you got all these numbers and calculations going in your head to what we're doing up there, and man, it's 5-10 minutes to chain up is way better than sitting there all night waiting for a wrecker to come get you out of the ditch.
Right. Or an hour and a half putting chains on trying to get your front tire out of the ditch.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'd have just stopped in 5 minutes to put chains on.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
But what that comes back to, that one incident I'm talking about is that was Sand Hill. So I made it up everything else all the way up to there, no problems at all. And then for whatever reason, Sand Hill got me. So
I don't know what it is. Sand Hill gets a lot of people. There's a lot of Sand Hill stories too. I've been lucky.
I've been close.
you must have went up right in front of me. I'm going to get the next guy.
Well, it was a couple weeks ago, and I was right at the very top. I was spinning pretty good, and you could see the rocks underneath, but it still wasn't picking it up. I was like, this is a little iffier than what guys were saying.
Yeah.
Because the hill looked brown. But there's some ice in there, too, mixed in with that. You know, it's like it rained or something, and I don't know. Yeah.
That's almost a scary thing. I almost feel like the state's doing too good of a job because back when I started, it was like you just chained up when it was that warm. Now it's like we're counting on the state to have everything good, and if they don't, or if it snowed a little bit since they were there, it takes some of the. I don't know. Before we just chained up. I mean, we were chained up a lot, and it's amazing how far we can make it now with not chaining up, and people take that for granted.
Well, like Dad says, if it's warmer than 25, you're not going to sit there when you spin out. You might sit there at 25, but for how long?
Right. Yep. Really, that was always my deciding factor. It's like, okay, it's 32 degrees. I probably should be putting chains on.
Yeah.
I could probably make it, but if I don't, I'm not staying there.
Yeah.
And, you're going to get out of the truck, and by the time you get back to the back tires, you're going to be standing there watching your truck go backwards.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're hauling hazmat or something like that, you just need to make good decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something, I think a lot of guys probably consider too. It's like, okay, I got a load of fuel, so I am going to put chains on, or I've got a load of mud. I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Feeling confident today.
Well, you think about the cleanup, on the mud, you can shovel that stuff up, but it's like that fuel. It starts going into the ground. I mean, I think of some of these companies back when I was a kid that went out of business from fuel spills. The insurance companies wouldn't insure them anymore because of that stuff, and that's, $1 million fuel spill cleanup over spending 5 or 10 minutes chaining up. It's,
right.
When you think about it like that, it's a pretty easy decision.
Right. Especially when you're an owner operator.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to stay in business or?
Right.
Now, Josh, I'm sure you've got this before. You ever got these gut feelings like, I should probably do this?
Yep.
You ever ignored those?
Yep.
What happened?
Broke my leg.
Well, I mean, on the haul road, but yeah.
Yeah. Spun out.
Yeah.
Luckily, I didn't go backwards.
Yeah.
I was able to get out and get chains on pretty quick. That's kind of when I first started around bigger trucks and stuff and working in the yard here in town. One of the line drivers, real experienced, Custer. I mean, it'd be kind of fun if you guys had him on here. You haven't had him on here, have you? Yeah. Okay.
We went to Arizona.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Okay. So one of the things he told me is like just out the door and something under your tires, whether it was the chocks or you take one of your chains and sling it under while you hang your chain on your other side. Get out and get something under there quick.
Yeah.
Just, hot tires and snow, and you make ice underneath where you're sitting pretty quick. So I always kind of fell by that, right? It's I won't say what I do in the cab to be prepared for that when I start up a hill, but I'm pretty quick out the door, and the chain is off the hanger and either underneath the tire or around the tire within about a minute.
Yeah, you want to have your coat close or whatever, but
Right.
I remember Eddie Gilbert spun out on the shelf one time, and he was back there in his sleeper getting his coat out of the closet when the truck started sliding.
Oh.
And it's like there needs to be a sense of urgency too. Make sure you can sit there, but then hurry up and get something underneath your tires, which is weird because I've never actually done that, but I was always pretty fast at throwing my chains and getting them kind of clumped up underneath there so you wouldn't slide. But
Yep.
that was that was funny. Mom just walked in here. I don't know. Did you not clean your room or something? Are you in trouble?
I haven't cleaned my room in probably 17 years.
No wonder she had that look on her
Yeah,
face.
she's upset.
Anyhow.
You just had to throw it.
So you're not going trucking today now.
I'm grounded.
I just had to throw that in
That's
there.
hilarious. Where do we go from here?
Sounds like we got to go to your room and clean it
Did your mom ever yell at you for not cleaning your room?
a couple times. And my brother would pick on me about it too.
Oh, yeah.
As an operator, do you have that same? Is there something where you would be like, man, I should have done this or I should have done that? Like where you're chaining up with a truck. Do you have them same kind of feelings as an operator up there? It's probably different, I'm sure, but talking about that just made me think about that.
Yeah. I think it's a little different. Gotta look. Let's just take a blade for example. You got a little more accessibility to other devices to slow you down if you do spin out. I've done my fair share of sliding backwards on hills in a grader too. It happens. You start wiping your feet and you can pick the mold board up all you want, but at some point you still got to stop, and sometimes you slide back. But one of the more senior guys up there told me, like, if you're running into those problems, you're not doing a good enough job making yourself traction because you got your mold boards in front of your tires. Sometimes it's just conditions. If it's 32 degrees or 35 degrees, the snow's melting as you're doing it. But I think generally what it comes down to is you just don't want to have to fight that. So if you're seeing those things, say, all right, I'm just going to put chains on because I don't want to have to keep stopping on the hill and backing up and starting again and backing up and starting again. It's a blade's pretty capable.
Do you guys ever barefoot the hill while you're cutting, going uphill with the blade, or you always chained up?
No, we'll be barefoot sometimes. Yep.
Okay.
A lot of that's probably how much blade pressure you got. You don't want to be cutting too much and lifting your tires off, but there's a lot to it. You're not just sitting up there just driving around. There's a lot to it.
Yep, the same, just like we were talking with the throttle. There's finesse there too, and you drag a blade down motor too, let it lug a little bit, but now you're starting to affect like your transmission flow and all that, and you need a certain amount of flow for that to keep tranny from getting too hot. And all the blades got diff lockers, so you're turning all four tires at one time. Some of these newer John Deeres we got up there, they have 6-wheel drive, and they had the front tires are hydraulic drive. Oh. So you can control the speed on those different from the rear ends.
Really?
Yep. Benefits to be either slower or faster depending on what kind of conditions you're seeing. But for the most part, it's just like a truck. You put chains on a grader and you're roading slower between the hills. So if you're trying to, let's say you're at Jim River and you're trying to do the knob and then go down and do that corner just south of the knob and do Arctic Circle or Connection and then the slide and then down to Finger, you're covering a lot of miles. And if you got to go 10 miles an hour between the hills, that takes a lot of time.
It's got to be pretty slick to chain up a blade, though, really.
Yep.
Because, you guys got some good tires on there.
Yep. It's
got to be almost freezing rain, probably.
I think just about every time I put chains on a blade, it has been because of ice, whether freezing rain or overflow. You see at the pass, they've got chains on the blade all the time there. Well, it's just going from camping up and over the hill. So it's pretty convenient just to leave them on. And then you don't have any, you do have trouble, but you generally don't have any trouble. And there's just a huge benefit to having them on. You're not, like I said, you're not fighting stuff all the time then.
So are you just putting one set on the blade when you chain it up, or you put two sets on?
Generally just one. I think the last time I put put chains on for ice, I was at Jim River, and it was probably December, maybe just after the first of the year, and we had freezing rain, and that's when trucks were wearing chains pretty much from 52 Mile and the Elliott all the way to Prudhoe. Like, it was a slow drive. It rained on the whole corridor. And I made it to the top of the knob without chains. And then started in those corners across the top, you know, from the outhouse down to where you're starting to drop onto that second hard pull, going south. And I couldn't turn.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, we're gonna put a set of drive chains on, and we're gonna put a steer chain on. And I ran the rest of the day like that.
Wow.
And it
What size chains are those for the blade?
like how big the chains, like 7 mil, 8 mil.
Are they like 9 or 10?
14s.
Or 14 millimeter.
They're typically
okay.
14 millimeter.
So it's a little tougher to throw those on there, huh?
Yeah, they're pretty heavy. It's not. I mean, they're manageable.
Yeah.
We've got the chains on the graders there at the pass. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen them when they go by. They're kind of like a skidder type chains. I can never remember what they're called, but like what you'd see on a log skidder.
Yeah.
You can't throw those by hand. That's why we put those on in the shop. But as far as just like a regular set of ladder chains, I guess if you want to call them that, you can do those on the road. It's not terribly bad.
And you guys usually leave those on the front of the blower and the loader, right? You have those same type of chains on the loader.
Oh yeah, yep, on the pass. Yep.
Yeah, on the pass.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it just comes back to that. It's just easy to put them on and leave them on, and they actually rode pretty well with those style chains. But when you're only going, you know, a handful of miles from the camp every day to go maintain the pass, it's pretty convenient just to have them on and leave them on. And then, like I said, you're not fighting it. Some of the other camps have gone to that too, like Sag River. They get them for their loader there. Jim River puts them on their loader. Makes loading sand, you know, digging in the sand pile and stuff. Loading sand makes that a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
You're not fighting spinning on the ice. And if we got to go dig ice anywhere, you know, along the road, overflow type ice, you've already got the chains on there. You can just get her done. It's pretty nice.
So like on the loader, you do got to put them on the front, the chains. Do you do that on the blade too?
You like the drive tires?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a reason for all that, huh?
I don't know. I think it's probably kind of like a truck, right? I always try to put them on the front on a truck just because you're kind of chewing things up for your back tires. I have gotten to pretty in-depth conversations with guys, front axle, back axle. The last truck I was driving, sometimes I'd just put them on the back axle if I was just throwing them just to have them on, because it was easier. I didn't have fenders. Yeah. Right? I don't know what your guys' take is on that, but I know a lot of guys will put them on the back just because there's no fenders there and it's easier. Yeah. But it's always been my preference to put them on the front. Yeah. So
I always had a set of 7s for the front that I'd always chain up the front, and then if I got real serious, I'd put my 8s on the back, kind of thing. But I didn't want to be wrestling the 8s underneath my fenders. That's why I would chain up. One, it works better too, but that's everybody's got their own theory. But I mean, I put them on the back axle before, but it's like I wasn't really counting on them. It was more freeze and rain kind of thing, or you're worried about the hills. Like, well, if I do spin out, I don't want to slide anywhere, kind of thing. But it was like I didn't really feel like I needed them. But if I need them, I put them on the front just so I'm chewing up the back.
Yep, that's kind of always been my thought. So the other thing I think about too, right? You lose your jack shaft. At least you got your power divider in. You're still got power to your front axle. Yeah. So hopefully you're not wiping a bunch of stuff out with your jack shaft spinning around. But
yeah,
things like that cross my mind too. But I'm not going to say I'm the most experienced driver either. So 15 years under my belt, 18 years, something like that. But
yeah, you're pretty talented at it. You make it look easy.
I don't know about that.
I
make it look good. A lot of that's the truck though.
That does, having your truck set up and even just everything you do, even for loading or, having for me, having your straps dry. And it's like, I do all that stuff ahead of time. So when it's time to come out there, it makes it look like you know what you're doing. But it was like, I was just prepared. I wasn't I was being proactive, not reactive kind of a thing. So that's another thing a guy's got to be. You don't want to get up there and get into a mess and then you're trying to work your way out of a mess kind of thing. So That makes sense.
That's
don't
like
it?
what you were saying though with your chains. So you have your chains set up so you are ready to go when if you spin out, you grab your chains and you just throw them on. That way they're not in a big clump,
Yep.
or in a bin or something like that where you're having okay, which side goes where, you're not messing around.
Right.
Yeah, and that's like me. It's like I have the same chains I had last winter, but I come to the first part of September and I pull everything off and I make sure everything fits in the shop before it starts snowing, and I don't. That's just part of being prepared. Or you could, even though I put my chains away, I'm pretty particular how I put that stuff away, but they can get all knotted up just sitting there bouncing around all summer.
Yep.
So it's kind of just thinking ahead and being.
Well, they can get ice on them too from going up north, and then when you do need them, they're all just full of ice. So that's something to consider too. This time of year, transition time, you know, or if it's raining in the middle of January, like we've seen last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where it comes to making good decisions too. You spin out on a hill and you're sitting there trying to fight your chains off and they're covered in ice and you can't get them on. It's like, okay, well, I should have stopped at the bottom and put them on.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're really putting yourself in a situation.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of making me think what we were talking about with Casey and Dave Evans, or no, that was maybe Jack talking about that, but just people trying to keep up with him that they didn't have the experience or that caliber to keep up, and I think that's the whole chaining up thing. People are just seeing, well, that guy made it. It's like, well, he's got 10,000 pounds on and you got a 5-axle. It's like there's a difference. Just because a truck made it, you got to think of, there's so many factors that go into that.
Right.
And it's like me, I'm changing my shocks and all that stuff all the time. I want good shocks so it maintains good pressure going up the hills, and you got good tires. And
that's something guys don't think about with those shocks when you go into the washboards at the top of 5 Mile. That could spin you out if you got bad shocks.
Sure.
It's a whole combination. Good shocks, good tires, good driving, like Benny says,
Yeah, if you're bouncing, if your tires, if you can't make good contact with the road, you're going to start spinning.
Right.
And I guess that's something else we were thinking about too, especially after when they're blading in the summertime. They'll blade some of these hills, and well, it'd be neat to get your take on that. But some of these trucks are still just flat out going up there. And it's like, man, pack this stuff in, and then we'll have a road that's going to last. But
and maybe they're not locked in either. I was talking to Chuck Jones about this. If you lock everything in going up the hills, you're not going to create as much washboard. And like Aaron said, you back out of it a little bit.
Right.
When you're empty, you don't need 600 horse to the ground going up some of these hills in the summertime.
Yep.
I
think it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
That material's loose and everything. It moves real easy. Lonnie and I were talking about that a couple weeks ago. Like, start cheating over to the downhill side if you're loaded. Help tighten that stuff in. I've done that on Beaver Slide. It's drifting in or whatever. There's nobody coming. I'll hop on that southbound side just to keep the road open a little better. I think there's a benefit to that. And same thing in the summertime. You know, 115,000 pounds on that versus a 40,000 pound empty truck. Downhill versus uphill too. Yeah,
let's work with the state and pack this road in, and we're going to have a good road. That's something else you can do too with when it starts snowing. If it's in the middle of the night and there's 3 or 4 inches of snow, it's like I'll run down the northbound lane coming home just to blow that snow off, so somebody else isn't fighting that trying to come up the hill, or trying to blow the snow off the high sides of the corner so guys can. Because that sucks when you're trying to get to the high side of the corner, but nobody's been out there, so now you're trying to push through all this snow. But you can help everybody else out. It's like it's all part of working together as a team.
Yep, for sure. One of the things that I think a lot of guys probably don't consider, and I know it's something when I first started up there, is split your tracks. Like a truck driver, after you get on a fresh bladed section of road, don't run in the same tracks as the truck in front of you. Move over a little bit, and you'll help that stuff really tighten up, and then it'll seal up, essentially, that everything compacts really nicely and whatnot. It'll shed water a lot better. It'll hold up a lot better through the rains and stuff. And I'm sure you guys have seen, right? Certain sections of the road hold together better than others, and that's just the difference in material, really. But some of that too is the way we maintain those sections after we blade them, right? That some guys are better at splitting tracks or rolling all the way to the edge of the road and whatnot, and that's something that drivers up there can definitely do. I mean, I don't expect anybody to run right on the shoulder of the road. There's a lot of risk involved with that, but But splitting the tracks and helping the road seal up nice and tight, that makes a big difference for how long it'll stay together.
Yeah. You even see that with guys like chaining for the shelf and going to the pass. It's like they're all running down one track, and it's like, I like to run my chains in the snow. They'll last forever. But once you wear down to that gravel, it's like, man, just split your tracks a little bit. But to me, it's kind of nice. Them guys can all run on one track, and then I'll split the tracks and keep my chains together, But it's, man, if you can keep those chains in that snow, man, they'll last forever. But you start running on rocks or pavement or any of that other stuff, you'll wear it down to nothing. It's my last green truck, man. I had them chains on that truck for like 7 or 8 years.
Oh, wow.
But that's hauling mud too, so
Not needing a chain terribly often because you got good weight.
yeah.
Yeah.
The weight's in all the right places, and camera's giving you fits. Let's take a little break real quick. If we can just mentally, if we can get people thinking about these different things, I mean, you could almost save somebody's life in a way from not doing something. You're not going to get to everybody, but it's sorry, we're doing a podcast
No,
again.
that's
We're
fine.
not even.
No, we're just talking here. I just wanted to. We're kind of on a time crunch here, but I just wanted to bring up one thing. It's icing season, right? They're watering the roads up there. Some of these potholes are pretty deep, right?
Yep.
We don't need these trucks driving right through it right after they water it, because it takes a little bit of time for these to freeze up, obviously.
Yes, sir.
So I guess, is it better just to follow the blade and not drive on the section that they just windrowed out, because they just watered that, right? Like just up there north of Adigan 1, right? Let's just say that, because that was last week they were doing that.
Yep.
But I was talking to Lonnie about that, and he's like, yeah, when trucks just roll right through them right after they just filled in the hole, now all the water's gone out of the hole. Now you guys got to do it again.
I think that's why we do things, multiple layers, right? You got to do a little bit at a time, and obviously, depending on what the temperature is, how fast things freeze, and it does make a difference. I honestly don't know if it's better to stay behind the blade or jump in the other lane. It's
Probably a case-by-case deal.
Yeah, maybe.
But and my thing is, I don't want to teach people what to do. I want to teach people how to think.
Right.
So it's like, if you work with the blade on some of that. Where do you want me?
Yep.
Where do you want me so we can save you from having to do this again?
Sure.
So, or at least think about that. Not, if they're out there watering, don't just try to blow the water off the road, or like calcium. Don't blow the calcium off the road. Let's just ease through here, and it's better for your truck and it's better for the road. And sometimes it sucks to have patience, but that's what the throttle's for. You don't just need to be flat out all the time.
Right. As much fun as it is.
Yeah, that's my thoughts too. But it's like, that's part of being a good operator, and that's using that throttle. And it's like, you need to be, man, if we work together, the road would last so much longer. Help the state pack this stuff down, and try not to.
Yep.
Yeah, just everybody work together.
Yeah.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Like, talk to the blade, right? That he's going to tell you where he wants you, or ask, hey, do you want me in this lane or that lane? Go jump in the other lane if you would.
Yeah.
When I'm running equipment, I typically, if somebody's, hey, I'm coming up behind you, hey, you mind grabbing that northbound lane or whatever?
And I even had times where you get up there and it's like, do you want me just to wait here? He's like, man, if you would, that'd be awesome. It's like, I can wait here for 1 minute and 30 seconds. It's like, that's all the longer it's going to take.
Right.
Just to make his job easier.
All we need is just a little bit of patience. I think that's a song, isn't it? But
Maybe.
well, Josh, we're gonna shut this down because I'm about to lose power on this computer here. We need some more cords. We need some help because we keep losing cameras, and it's just been one of those weeks. But Josh, come back. We'll talk again. It's been a pleasure having you on. We appreciate what you're doing, and yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. No,
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite, and more than happy to come back and talk more shop or work or get grilled.
Maybe talk about hunting next time. We get a little more deeper into that.
I'm not sharing my hunting
Oh,
spot.
okay.
He earned that.
Took 14 years to find it, so it's going to stay a secret as long as I can keep it there.
That's right.
All right.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
better. Can you hear me in here? All
Yep,
right? Okay.
that's good.
Good deal.
Man, you got a good radio voice.
He does. You want to just take over, Josh?
I'm all right.
Tell these guys how it's gonna go.
Well, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Put your chains on when you should.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. That's a good show.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys later.
Yep. And that's how it's done, folks. When the human mind only can comprehend 7 seconds at a time.
Just be your highlight reel, huh? 7 seconds every episode.
Yeah, exactly.